Welcome back
Alrighty.
to the Boredwalk Podcast.
Welcome.
I'm here with Grace from the content team.
What's up, y'all?
How's it going over there?
All the way over here.
All the way over there.
Echo. It's good. It's good on this side of the woods.
Nice.
Yeah, how is it over there?
It's going okay. I feel like, well, as you know, and as I mentioned to people that read our email, we have these videos that blew up recently, which is great. It's what we want. That's why we make videos.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's also kind of exhausting dealing with the incessant, like, opinions being hurled at us all goddamn day about our work. It's a lot.
Especially when you put an opinion out there that seems like it should just be something that everyone can rationalize, but it's just really hard to get through to some people. Ignorant might be the word to be used. A hard ignorant.
The thing that I feel like is there's always like some contingent of commenter that's like a little disappointing with every like successful video, and the contingent that I think is disappointing, and I use this word loosely, not really, but like it's women who in theory claim that like they relate to the messaging that we're talking about, you know, feminism and how women are treated in society, but they're like, but you shouldn't be using violence as part of the message. And I'm like, okay, it's satire, it's hyperbole, it's comedy, it's not literal. We're not literally advocating for killing people.
No.
But like it's the same kind of humor that's in those like Addams Family movies from the 90s. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Yeah,
yes. It's like the same kind of humor where like there's tons of jokes about killing people in that movie, but it's like a children's movie.
Yeah, and it's not, I wouldn't even put it in the, it's just like there's a category of regular satire, and then there's a dark satire, there's dark comedy, like it's whatever satire aligns with you, and people don't like a lot of comedy and other things in comedy because it is on a side of things that isn't rainbows and butterflies, and it's getting into the topic of something and making fun of it so you can see the severity of it.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly it. Like, The reason our jokes are about doing something violent is because violent things are being done to women all day, every day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, 1 in 3 women are assaulted, and that's just what's reported. So it's just like, I don't know. That's a real statistic. So at the same point in time, you know, I mean, you can still make it, like, let's not make a joke about it. But if you want to talk about that and be able to get that to a larger audience, you can write about it. And that's what we're trying to do, you know.
I know. Our content's not for everyone.
It's just really
I never
not for
expect
everyone.
it to be, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need all this. You can just leave. You can just mark not interested and be on your way.
Yeah, I feel like on this topic we should read Brendan's comment. Brendan had a really great comment. Yeah, it was on a video. I want to say this video is me and Tess talking about like a double standard, kind of like how men and women are perceived when it comes to like hookup culture, and how women are just kind of like used trash if they like hook up with people. And we were kind of just going back on like kind of the patriarchy of that situation. And then Brendan commented, it's a double standard for a reason. Men have to convince women to sleep with us. Women let men sleep with them. That's why it's undesirable to us men. A lot to unpack there, Brendan. Wow. I think the thing that stands out to me is just convince women to sleep with us. Who are you hooking up with, Brendan? When you have to say that?
I'm imagining he means pay. I don't.
It's just like, convince women to sleep with us. It's like Brendan's giving the guy that he buys you a drink and like thinks that you owe him sex from this now.
Well, the word let is all caps there.
Yeah.
Women let men sleep with them like we're doing men a favor?
Women let men sleep with them. Like it's just like our blessing and our honor to like allow us to, like, all of this is so convoluted, and it's such a strange message.
And then he wraps it up by saying that's why
it's undesirable.
It being, I assume, promiscuity, women being promiscuous is undesirable. We don't care, Brendan. We didn't ask you what was desirable to you. I don't remember us bringing this up as an interest of ours.
Yeah. Like, nobody cares. It just triggered him to see 2 women joking around and just making light of something that he prides himself in. He prides himself in, like, how we were both joking around and talking like men and being kind of gross in that conversation. That is how Brendan communicates with his friends. So he was like, I'm so triggered that these women think that they can just talk like that.
That they can talk the way men talk.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like, men don't like that. Men don't like that all the time, especially when women are trying to be funny. Women are funny. Sorry. I like honestly decided to trip myself up there too.
I mean, men that don't have to convince women to sleep with them appreciate our jokes just fine. It's really just the Brendans of the world.
Men have to convince women to sleep with them. What a polarizing narrative, Brendan, that you're walking around with.
It's grim.
Like, I don't know if he's ever just had, like, he's never hooked up with somebody that, like, she wanted to be there. Like,
that's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like, that he's, like, never experienced, like, liking somebody, like, loving somebody, Brendan. What a tough go. Like, I feel bad for you. Like, you just leave a hookup just empty and sad. And I mean, I'm sure she's very unfulfilled and satisfied in every other way as well, but
that's what I'm taking from this. If he has to convince them, that means women are getting the impression that he's probably not a good time.
Yeah, it's giving you like, you need to, like, force alcohol on women because you don't know how to, like, be around them. And it's, like, really cringing me out, all of you, Brendan. But honestly, thanks for the comment.
Thanks for warning us about you.
I guess I'll have to check him off my list. Brendan, I guess it won't work out between us.
He's probably not on Raya anyway.
Ugh, probably not. Ugh, my type. Okay.
I'll tell you what else I've been noticing lately, and I'm not sure what is going on here. And Matt said the same thing. I was talking to him and I was like, I feel like my social anxiety as I'm getting older is getting worse. But I'm not sure if it's because I'm getting older or if it's because I have so many things in my life that cause me anxiety that, like, my tolerance for things that cause anxiety is, like, just kind of maxed out because, like, running Boardwalk is stressful and hard.
Right.
But we hung out with some friends Friday and it was fun by the time we got home, and this was like maybe like 2 hours of social time.
Oh my God.
I got home and I was so exhausted. I was like ready to go to sleep immediately. I was so tired. And then the next day, Matt and I are like hanging out by ourselves on our patio, which is like our favorite place to like hang out and do nothing. And I was like, oh, this is much more calming than like being around my friends who I love, but just being around them, even though I love them, is exhausting. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, there's like a script running the whole time I'm around people where it's like, am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough?
Right.
Am I talking about things they want to talk about?
Right.
And when I'm at work, it's the same thing. I'm like, is the staff happy? Am I doing a good job as their boss? Am I giving them enough direction? Am I giving them too much direction? Like, I'm constantly like have this going on. And so like, even just like coming to the office, which I do work remotely a few days a week, but just coming to the office, it like drains me in that way because I'm around like our team who I also really like, but at the same time, like, it's me, it's not them.
Yeah.
But I have this script going and I'm like, why am I so much more productive when I'm not at the office? And I'm like, oh, it's because I don't have this like part of my brain trying to manage human interaction
and being
running.
Empathetic. You're also being empathetic because you want to know like how you're doing the best job, and like if you're not at the office, you can take away that energy. But that's also just part of being a good person, unfortunately. Like, you know, you're thinking about how other people are perceiving you, and a lot of people don't have that innate quality, but that's what it takes to also be successful. I mean, not to the point where anxiety is inevitable for a lot of people, but when it starts affecting you, it's just like, well, what can I do to check back in with myself, you know? Because at the same point in time, at the end of the day, you're going to bed being like, well, I did everything that I could. You know, like, I did everything the best of my abilities, and I did everything that I could.
Oh, no, I got to replay all the scripts from all the conversations through the day and think about ways I might have said the wrong thing or whatever. I don't know. I know other people do this, and I'm not the only person.
Yes, they definitely do. I mean, I have started doing it a lot because I've been doing a lot more improv and like a lot of these shows, and I've been having like other auditions that are completely improvised. And when you're doing things that are completely improvised and you're creating an entire script in your mind off of something that you have no idea what's being said in front of you before, like some things that come out of your mouth, I will go to bed at night and I'm like, like it like just comes back into my mind. Like, oh no, like just like some of like the conversations and things that will come out of your mind, like 1 out of 3 things that are going to come out of your mouth, like you're going to just be like, I'm going to justify it and go with it. But like, that's not what I wanted to say. And I have found myself recently just being like, I will just be cooking myself dinner. And I'm like, like I just want to like throw everything away and just like jump out my balcony. Yeah, so it's like we just like also like I just think if you have to talk for a living and you have to make decisions, like you're gonna cringe yourself out. Like I just like I cringe myself out. Like I say things and it's like like yeah, I don't know, I definitely do it. And my ADHD, it's like I don't think so much before I speak, so I'm just like it came out of my mouth and I'm like, yep, that's where we're at, and I don't want to back out of the fact that I meant to say that. So
I think this is why I like spending time around animals, because there's not this component to it. They don't care what you say.
That's very true. That's very true. That's also just like why I love being by myself, because I honestly, like, I love going out to dinner by myself, grabbing coffee. Like, I love doing things by myself, that I am that person that like laughs in public by myself, and people be like, and I'm like, I'm just having a great time by myself. Like, I make myself laugh, and I'm like, nobody else I need to share that with. Like, I'm writing things. I'm like, I love that. That's a great. I get to hype myself up. Nobody can put. I just think people need to spend more time by themselves, or just like spend time with like that one best friend that they really get along with, and like prioritize the people that like you are not thinking when you speak, and there's no judgment. You know what I mean? Because the reason that we do pick up that energy sometimes is sometimes we are getting weird vibes from people. You know what I mean? Like, there are like, even in social settings where it's like these are friends or whatever, like still there's like a slight judgment on what you're saying, and like even out in public it's just like there kind of is sometimes, like, and I don't want it. I don't even want the subdued energy behind it, you know?
Yeah, people interaction is hard. I know most of our audience can relate to that. A lot of them are like, yeah, people are hard.
People are hard. Like, people are hard, especially when you have to talk to people like literally for a living. So
speaking of the people, what do the people have to say? Do you have a review over there?
I do have a review over here. Somebody reviewing the Delve deck. They said, my family and I are really enjoying the Delve deck. And they made a comment underneath saying, my kids and I have been enjoying the Delve deck at our Sunday dinner gatherings. We're discovering new things about one another, and it's been wonderful. The deck leads to unexpected conversation and lots of laughter.
I love that. That's such a nice review.
Yeah. I love that. I also have to, so I had it on my coffee table, and I had some people over on Friday. I want to say Friday. And I was like, oh yeah, open that. They were like, what is this? And like, we all started passing it around. We ended up getting into such serious conversations. Like, and it was, some people were like, and also it was like 3 men from the South too that don't talk about their feelings much, and they just like were going in there talking about how their dad left and like other things, and like other people were contributing to that, and it was like literally getting grown men to just like open up about their feelings. And like, I've been wanting to say something. I was like whoa, like the vulnerability coming from the room and coming from this conversation deck. I was like, I love seeing this, and it was just nice to be in like a safe space where people felt like they could have these conversations. And yeah, like I like that. Like I like having, like, I'm that type of person where it's like, we're having a good time, but let's make let's make the conversation a little bit more intimate. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about real things. It's all fun and good to joke about this or talk about this, but it's like, it's really nice to like get a little bit out of the surface level component of things in a social setting.
Yeah, it's a really fun product to play with. Mm-hmm. I owned a lot of conversation deck products before we created this one, and they were all had like things about them that I'm like, this could be better in this way. And we had been doing question of the day for years, and so we already had like all these questions that I had written, but also like all the feedback on like, did people engage with this question? Did they seem to enjoy talking about it? Did this thing get ignored? So I could kind of get a sense of like, okay, what topics do really get people talking? And the stuff in some of the boxes that I own, like, kind of just didn't.
I agree with that. Like, for me, like, I like these type of games, like the conversation games, but a lot of them, I feel like the questions and the people that are making the game don't want it to get super serious, and want to keep it super light and jokey and like extremely like giggly the whole time, where it's like, that's not really, like, I get it to like escape reality and hard things, that you want to just like have these jokey, like more fun, but this is, I don't know, I just feel like you get to make better connections with people, opposed to maybe just like keep laughing. But it's also, I loved how like the conversation was getting extremely serious, but by the end of it, it's like, it is still a game. Like, we're not here to sit and cry. Like, it is still keeps you moving, opposed to just having difficult conversations. Like, it keeps you going, where it's like, we don't need to sit and fester on the fact that your dad left. Like, let's just pull another card.
Well, you could pull a light blue card, and then you can lighten up the
exactly
mood, which is the way we designed it, so that you could kind of choose, like, do you want to talk about something intense? Do you want to talk about something kind of light? Do you want to bounce around? So yeah, I like it for that purpose. I think you guys were recently or Matt and Tess were recently talking about some people complaining that like the content is negative, and I think what they mean is it's not overtly positive. It's kind of neutral for the most part.
I mean, I don't think it's negative. Well, it can be taken negatively if you have a negative experience with it or you want to go negatively with it.
The questions aren't like, what's your favorite sandwich or whatever. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that question, but it's just that it has other kinds of things. Like, one of the examples I would say is like, what's your unpopular food opinion? And I could see how somebody on the surface could look at that and be like, oh, that's really negative because you're talking about something that's unpopular. But
I guess
I think it has more to do with like what makes you different than other people, which is the point of what we're trying to get at with,
I mean, do you want to? I feel like maybe now would be a good time to.
Yeah, sure.
This,
pick one.
What is gross to you that doesn't seem to bother most people?
I'm probably a lot of things I'm easily grossed out, I think. All medical things gross me out, and I mean all of them. Like any of it. Like, my dentist would be like, do you want to look at your teeth x-rays? No. And I'm like, no, I don't want to look at that. You do it.
Yeah, no.
Stuff like that. Just talking about, like, ways your body is falling apart. I don't know. All that stuff kind of bothers me. I don't really like it. I don't like being touched. We talked about that. That grosses me out. I got a lot of stuff probably that grosses me out. Oh, meat is gross to me. Like the food.
Yep.
I don't know. It like seeps blood or whatever it
literally
seeps.
has blood. And,
I don't like that.
Fats to it. Yep.
Yeah.
You're literally consuming another thing's blood.
I'm pretty easily grossed out.
I don't know if I'm not like the easiest grossed out person. I'm going to be honest. I just feel like the things that gross me out, good chance it's going to gross everybody out because it's just plain and simple gross. I guess things that I'm at Asian markets a lot and they have their fish section like in like all out all the time and are like cutting it in front of you and like the meat section and like I know it's like part of the culture to do it in front of you and like you want to be seeing that. But for me, it's the smell of it. It's not seeing it per se. It's like the smell of it while I'm grocery shopping. And like that to me, I think is like something that I'm just like in the fruit section and I don't want to like smell what literally smells like a shark being cut open.
Oh, I'm with you on all of that.
Yeah, that's to me grosses me out.
But the regular grocery store too, like all the dead things wrapped in the plastic, like it makes me feel ill. I avoid that part of the grocery store.
Yeah. See, that doesn't like it's just this like the smell in an open grocery store and then I don't like that it's just like what's that doing to the fish that you're cutting with all the people in here? You know what I mean? Like that to me it just doesn't and other things mostly go, but it's just
I'm with you on that.
I don't want it. Okay.
Do you care what color?
Nope.
All right, I'll do one of these in the middle. What is a lot more popular than it deserves to be?
I would say like the influencers like on social media that lip sync things. Like you're not skilled in any way. It like makes me infuriated for no reason that you're like a millionaire, which I actually want you to have all the success and the fact that you are a millionaire off of literally just wearing free clothes and hitting play and lip syncing words. I'm really actually you finessed the system. Like you've almost won. But I guess that's to me that's just like it's so weird that those are like people that you like look up to and you admire and you like care about what they do in their day to day. That to me is like really scary and toxic that society would ever put somebody on like that on a pedestal. Like it's mind blowing to me. Like it doesn't make sense.
I agree, and I had a very similar answer. Just in general, people who are famous for no real reason, like they're not famous for a talent. Like when you think about like, filmmakers or musicians or whatever, they're like making a thing that we all find interesting. Like I understand
the time and the hours and like, the sacrifice.
Yeah, like you think Guillermo del Toro makes these like very, beautiful films, is like an interesting person. Sure, he makes these interesting movies. I think that's interesting too, but like Kardashians, what is the talent? I don't get it.
It's also such a red flag to me when somebody like is talking about them in conversation in like a positive light and like then making it part of my day that I have to sit here and hear about what Kendall Jenner did today or what the Kardashians did today, where it's like I hate that I know that now. Like I hate that I know what the drama is because you're talking about it around me and now it's ruining other information that I could be retaining.
in general, prying into the personal lives of people who are famous is not appealing to me. I couldn't like it. I don't find it interesting. I don't want to hear about it. Like, Taylor Swift has been in my Twitter, and I'm a big fan of her music, but I don't care about her personal life, and it's just in my Twitter feed nonstop about, like, oh, she's dating this guy from the 1975, and I'm like, I wish I didn't have this information. I do not care.
I couldn't agree more. And then when I find myself, like, I'm just scrolling through something, or like the New York Times or something that I follow, like, why are these big publications like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and other things that I follow, why are you talking about celebrity gossip? That's where I find myself, like, I'm going through the New York Times story and it's like, the 1975 Taylor's, it's like, well, why is this news now on like things that it's just such a big part of culture now is celebrity, and it's more than it ever used to be. It definitely is.
It's annoying to me, but it's also, like, so pervasive that I feel like you just can't get away from it. And that's the part that I find even more annoying. Like, if there's some corner of the internet where people who are interested in this want to discuss, I guess, have at it.
Please do.
But the fact that it's just everywhere and you can't avoid it is what bothers me, because I don't care.
Yeah. And then the billions of dollars that are in the industry and entertainment just talking about their lives, where that's people's jobs. Like, E-Entertainment, you know, like, their entire job is to just literally sit there and talk about the lives of other people. Oh my God, she brushed her teeth with this toothbrush. Like, oh, I don't even care about my life that much. Like, my own existence, like, I don't even care about it as much as some kids online, or even adults, which is the sad thing. Adults definitely caring about other people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like you're an artist on a talk show and you're talking about, like, oh, this was the creative process behind this piece of work that I did.
Cool.
Like, that's cool. I find that kind of thing interesting. But when it's like, this person dated this person, and then they dated this other person, like, I don't care.
No, yeah, I don't care. I mean, one of my favorite podcasts, it's like there's a bunch of celebrities that will come on to it, but they're talking about, like, their process of, like, where they've come from and what they're working on and promoting, and they're funny, interesting people that are good at conversing. So it's like, that's where I get, I guess, information about, I mean, it's just people that I care about too. Like, I want to hear your perspective on this. But again, like, whatever makes you literally go to bed happier at night, and if that's reading, about Taylor Swift for 3 hours, then I want you to do that. Please do.
I suppose. I can't imagine being on the other side of it. Like,
right.
And you have your accounts that you have, like, you're just your own personal accounts where people follow you, and we've got Boardwalk's accounts where people follow us, and even just like that micro awareness of, like, Boardwalk and people being interested in Boardwalk, or people being interested in your account, like, even that is hard. I can't imagine it times a million if you're, like, you know, you're Brad Pitt or you're whoever, you're someone super famous.
Yeah,
that's just got to be so draining.
And it's just like somebody too that has such a distinct face, like I was listening to Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld, and they were talking where it's like they're such distinct looking people and their voices are so distinct that it's like, even just opening your mouth, like, you're gonna look and be like, you've heard their voice before, where it's like you can't even get away with sometimes, like, wearing a hat and sunglasses, and like your life is just literally I mean, and also they put it, Jerry Seinfeld said it in a funny way where he was just like, also, like, I could have stopped and, like, you know, fallen out. Like, this is a life that you've obviously evidently chosen, and there's so many more pros than cons to it, like, obviously. But when you are not a individual anymore, like, you are just part of culture, which is a really weird thing. You're a piece of art and a slight puppet to society, which is just, like, a really polarizing thing to be carrying. But at the same point in time, like, you'll never worry about your bills being paid or your children's bills being paid or your lights being turned off. So,
yeah,
I mean,
definitely there's trade-offs to it. There's definitely advantages to it. I do sometimes look at some of my friends who sell really boring things. Like, I have a friend that sells paint, like touch-up paint for cars. And he's built a business, like, I think even bigger than ours, just selling touch-up paint for cars. And I'm like, that kind of sounds so peaceful.
I know. I think about it all the time, actually. People that just have, like, a simple, peaceful job, and they just have, like, their family and mind their business and don't have to keep up with what the current things are. Like, it actually seems wonderful.
I mean, I don't feel like running a business selling touch-up paint really plays to my personal strengths, so that's probably not what I should be doing.
I don't think so either.
But I can see the appeal of it.
I can too. And it's also just like, what's the biggest problem that happens? I got the wrong paint color?
I mean, he deals with, like, the actual nuts and bolts of running a company the same way I do, so, like, we still have a lot to talk to each other about, because, like, we deal with, you know, importing and HR and hiring and, like, just the boring side of running a company, so we relate on those things, but
the real headache that you face is, like, a lot of the people, you know, and, like, them having to have problems about things that you're saying, and, like, yours is a lot of words that you're putting out there and selling. Like, he's not selling words. Like, they're already, cars sell themselves. You know what I mean? Cars sell themselves. It's a bigger field when you're selling something that is your words on it. Like, people already have cars and need to touch them up. That's a market that is, you have to use it. Nobody has to buy your shirt because you have to agree with what it says, or have to agree with wanting to buy a game or a book like that. Like, so it's just a different, there's a creativity aspect to it.
Yeah.
When a touch-up, it's not like, you know, if it has like, honestly, I go online, I'm like, okay, this touch-up paint has 5-star reviews, buy. Like, is it a good price point? Cool. Like, I'm not like, do I align with the brand? Do I, like, this, and this? You know what I mean? I'm like, it's touch-up paint, you know? And if it sucks, that was on me for buying it. Like, I'm not like, gotta return this unless it, like, ruined my car for some reason. You know what I mean? It's just, like, one of those things where I'm like, I bought a product that didn't work, or it worked great, and I'm still not going to probably leave a review, unfortunately. That's how I am. Not going to leave a bad one, and I'm not going to probably leave a good one. But at the same point in time, like, yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you a light blue one.
Okay.
All right, what regionalism do you use that gives away where you are from?
What?
Regionalism.
Oh, regionalism.
Yeah.
I feel like I get asked a lot if I'm from the East Coast. It's because when I talk, I use my hands a lot. Yeah, I'll use my hands a lot. I say wicked, too. Like, I'll be like, that's wicked cool. Like, it will come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I'm just, like, very, I talk like this, and I'm, like, very direct and, straightforward about things that I just don't want to be surface level, and it'll just be like, you're not from California. I guess, it'll put me into, like, that East Coast. But I don't have an accent.
That's true. You do not. Certain words I might have a bit of a mid-Atlantic accent, but I don't know how apparent that is. I talk fast, which is very East Coast.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell where you're from.
Yeah, mid-Atlantic.
Yeah. I don't want to speak though, like, in my dialect where people are just like, that's where you're from. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, and I love people that have that, but just personally for myself, like, especially being a woman that talks a lot, I just, like, you're already getting thrown into boxes all the time where I'm like, I don't want to be thrown into that category of Boston. Then being, unfortunately, there's just, with dialects and psychological studies to it, then you're focused on that, and then you're not listening to other parts of it where it's like, I just need to fight for as much attention on focusing on what I'm saying, opposed to just being like, she's from Boston accent, you know, like, but I like when I hear a Boston accent, especially out in LA. I'm like, oh, what is up? Like, I love hearing it.
I do notice East Coast accents when I hear them, and I'm like, oh, it sounds like where I grew up.
Yeah, it's like, it's nice. It's just, for me, personally, I am not going to have one. But I like that my whole family does, you know? Like, it's like, but I do feel like when I'm at home, some words, like, do you feel like when you're around your family, you ever talk differently?
I don't think so. Most of, like, people I'm close with, like, lifelong people are also from the Mid-Atlantic, but they also don't really have Mid-Atlantic accents, so I don't think it really influences how I talk.
Yeah, probably not them. Yeah, I definitely feel like I'll talk differently and talk, like, more aggressively when I'm around my family, and then when I get back here, it takes me, like, a week to, like, ooh, all right, I don't need to be carrying that much hostility for no reason. Like, I don't know why I'm, like, angry for no reason. Okay, I'll pick one more too.
Okay.
What's the dumbest way you've injured yourself?
I think I told you guys this offline recently, but it is funny because we were just talking about being awkward a little while ago and not, people making us anxious. Before I was doing this, I worked in tech, and it was almost all guys. And there was this one guy in particular who just kind of drove me up the walls. Like, he was also awkward, but, like, a close talker, and, like, it was hard to get out of conversations with him once you got into a conversation with him. He's just, like, somebody I did not want to interact with. And one day I saw him walking down the hall, and I, like, got so flustered trying to avoid this person that I tripped over my own feet and sprained my ankle trying to avoid this guy because I didn't want to, like, have to get stuck in a conversation with him.
No.
Like, totally, like, sprained, swollen, like, it was in bad shape.
Did he see you do that?
No.
No.
Because I, like, went to go, like, kind of turn down another hallway that I wasn't planning to turn down, so I, like, was, like, changing directions, like, my brain and my feet, like, just something didn't connect because it was, like, such a, like,
oh my god,
flustering moment that, yeah, so I sprained my ankle pretty badly, avoiding this colleague that I did not want to interact with.
And then you had more pain by having to carry around that sprain and then have to think about his annoyingness.
Yeah. That is one perk of running Boardwalk, is that I don't really have to work with people day to day that I really don't want to work with.
Yeah.
What about you? What's the dumbest way you've injured yourself?
Oh, God, it was so cringy. I'm, like, cringing thinking about it. It's when I first moved to Los Angeles, and I was, like, going to, like, my first famous person's party. And I, like, dressed up really nice, and I was, like, wearing heels, and, like, to get into the person's house, there was, like, a really steep staircase. And I, like, remember just being, like, be confident, like, you got this, like, yeah, and I, like, slipped up and then slid down it, and, like, my ankle just was fat and swollen, and it was instantly obvious, and I, like, had to hold on to the railing, and then there was just people behind me that just, like, were trying to help me up, and it was just, like, a loud, and it was just, like, also when you're walking in, and, like, I could just also, like, it was almost like people's faces froze, and I saw them, like, it was just... Yeah, and then just, like, honestly, I wanted to, like, feel hot and pretty, like, that night, and I just felt like I had to sit because my ankle hurt so bad. So it just wasn't hot. Like, it just just wasn't, it didn't end up being hot.
It is funny in hindsight.
It is super funny in hindsight, and if I saw that, like, it's one of those moments that you see somebody else do it, and it's not funny. Like, it's really not funny. Like, nobody was really laughing. It was just like,
it's like a scene in a movie almost, though. It's so perfect, where it's like you're trying to have, like, your evening of looking hot. You're like a Bridget Jones character or something,
yes.
And you're like, of course, you trip and fall.
Like, the nicest house I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'm, like, clearly, like, don't belong here. Like, I feel like I already am having that imposter syndrome of, like, why am I invited here? Why am I going here? And then it's like, oh, this is why. Yeah, humble yourself. This is why. Yeah, girl. But all around, had a few shots of tequila, and then ended up feeling a little bit better about the situation, and still had a good time. Okay, I didn't let it ruin my night. It definitely was one of those things that we were talking about earlier, where I'm like, oh, like throughout the night, where I'm just like, oh, like it comes back into your mind, like a That's So Raven moment, where I'm like, but it is what it is. Like, we're cringy human beings, you know.
Who among us hasn't fallen down at a party, tripping over our own feet?
You know what I mean? Like, if you haven't fallen down at a party, you're playing games. Like, you know, maybe you're not having a good enough time. That's what I would say. I also, the unfortunate thing is, I did walk in and I was sober. Like, there was no reason for me to have fallen. So I was stone cold sober. But that's just the beauty of me, you know. Yeah, can't win them all.
What are we talking about over on Question of the Day this week?
Oh, right. It says, what is an article of clothing you can't just pull off no matter... Wait, what's an article of clothing you can just pull off no matter how much...
You just can't pull off.
You just can't pull off no matter how much it's in style. Amongst the dandelion and thorn said rompers. Okay. I think rompers look good on people. I like rompers. They look really, really bad on some people, though. But
I just don't like it. You got to take the whole thing off if you got to use the bathroom. That seems like a pain.
It is, but I just like it too. And you have a good one where it's just like you don't need to put so much together. It's just on, you know, finding things that like layering things. It's just on, ready to go. But yeah, some rompers they're not for everyone. They're not for everyone. All right. Chosen Fool said yoga pants do not look appealing on a guy. I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, to each your own. Like, if you're a guy, get after it. Just very tight in areas that you might not want it to be on yourself. And then, I don't know, on my day-to-day if I want to see that. So,
no, probably not.
Probably not. But also, if that makes you feel confident. Yoga pants are also really low. Like, they're, like, lower cut than normal pants now that we're wearing. Like, high-waisted is all the rage now, especially for workout things, that yoga pants are low. That if you don't, like, why the high-waisted thing is in, because it's like, let's just let's just suck it all in. You know, and that's why it's popular. Yoga pants are just like the complete opposite of that. Yeah. They're like definitely like the girls that have like a salad a day and do Pilates in Santa Monica love yoga pants. That's and Yvette Michelle said any dress with elastic in the middle. If you aren't a size 2, you're going to look like a fucking potato. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I also feel like sometimes with an elastic in the middle, it is flattering on some people.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the wearer.
It definitely depends on the wearer. I'm trying to think of what's an article of clothing you can't pull off. Oh, I can think of a few. I mean, I don't think ponchos are great.
Most people aren't going to look great in a poncho, though.
Most people aren't. Yeah, like, it's just not going to look good on most people. It's just not going to look good. No.
I can't wear long dresses because I'm very short. And so if I put on a long dress, I look like a little kid trying to dress up as a grown-up. So my dresses all have to be like above the knee or I will look ridiculous.
That's funny. I love long dresses.
You're tall, though.
Yeah, I'm tall.
Long dresses are in style right now, and I wanted to get some new dresses for this year because I do like dresses. I just can't wear the long ones. And it took some real doing to find like above the knee dresses. I eventually found a bunch at Tilly's, which is like a surf skate type store out here, and they sell like I'm sure their stuff is like geared to college age people, but it happened to have short dresses, and so I was like, this will work for me. Yeah, so I got a bunch of their stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to. What do you think about gaucho pants? Do you remember those?
Are those the really wide-legged ones?
Yeah. They looked really weird on people. Like, whether you were a very, like, a larger person or a really small person, they look very weird on people. Like, they're just, like, make you just look like an amoeba of some sort.
In general, I don't like pants. I'll say that.
Oh, you don't like pants.
I prefer to avoid them if possible. Like, I have some, but it's not my preferred article of clothing.
You have some disdain for them, I felt. What is the disdain for pants?
Because skirts and dresses are so much more comfortable that I'm just like, why would I wear pants if I could wear a skirt or a dress that's just so much more comfortable?
I know. It took me a while to enjoy jeans, but then I found that there's some companies that have jeans that are so soft that I didn't know that existed for a while. Also, it's really hard to find pants that just fit you as a woman. Like, you know, it's just like the right length, the right hip size. Like, it's just like there's so many variants to women's bodies that it's like, maybe that's why also pants, like, I like didn't like pants for the longest time because I'm like, I never could find anything that made me feel confident or comfortable in a
This is why skirts and dresses. Like, they're just an easier fit. Like, there's not as many dimensions to them.
I know. But then there's also a side of it where as a woman, sometimes you don't even feel confident, or at least for me, I was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in dresses, and skirts make me feel like uncomfortable. That there was like a point in time where I just felt like vulnerable.
Too revealing.
I guess. And I guess there was just like a part of it too where I was like, like, are men looking at me differently? Which is gross that you have to have that thought too, you know, where I'm like, oh, the fact that like I'm in a dress or a skirt, like, and honestly, yeah, there actually is a part of that too, where I'm like, men are actually so gross that it's like skirt, like dress, where it's like, you know, that I was like, I don't want that. I mean, I don't care now. I'm not gonna change me enjoying to wear a skirt or a dress for a guy now. But when you're younger and you don't know subconsciously that you're doing that until you're older, that I was like, oh, I didn't like skirts and dresses because of the male gaze put onto me. Yeah. Nice.
I mean, I don't tend to wear skirts and dresses that are like particularly sexy.
Right,
so like
right.
I'm not trying to attract the male gaze with them. I'm just doing it for comfort. But
I know, but still, like, it doesn't matter if it's sexy or not. And a lot of times that's the problem.
That's true.
The double downing fact is like, I don't think those things that I was wearing were sexy. Like, it's just like.
But you also get catcalled in sweatpants, so it's like you might as well be comfortable.
You might as well just wear something you like, because at the end of the day, you're gonna get catcalled no matter what. So, to each your own.
I wrote my wish fulfillment sketch with you guys about vaporizing men for catcalling. We all want to.
Yes.
With a look, just want to melt them.
Yeah, I like made a joke on my Instagram the other day, like with this photo that I uploaded. I was like, oh, I like, because I was in a nice outfit. I was like, oh, I put this on to like pump my gas and get catcalled. I got like 10 DMs from like creepy old guys just being like, well, what's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with calling out what we think is attractive? Like, why wouldn't we say something if we like it? Like, along those lines, where I'm just like, block, 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 block. And it's just like one of those things where it's like, that whole joke just being, and also like, yeah, I think I doubled down on the fact that I was like, yeah, I wore this for 50-year-old men that have broken homes to catcall me at the, and then one guy was just like, so what, we have a broken home, what, like, that's not our fault, like, was like mad that I called out that he has a broken home and then hits on women, where it's just like, you try to just make a simple joke and then men are just like, well, what's wrong with catcalling women at the gas station?
It's all these Brendans.
Like, so many Brendans.
It comes full circle.
It comes full circle. Like, these guys, like, they're saying it too because it's like, do you think I'm going to sleep with you? Like, I'm so confused. It's like, obviously for them, but it's like, it's just so obvious. Like, it's weekly, it's every week of your fucking life, where it's just like, I'm just curious as to what is coming from this. Do you think, because does it work? Like, has it worked for them?
That's the part
But they're so confident with it. Like, they're so confident with it. Like, my apartment complex, how you get into it, there's always like a line of traffic either way, like at like the busy hours, like red light there too. So like cars just sit, and like to get into my building, sometimes it takes a second. Without fail, 50% of the time, there is some creepy guy staring at me as I'm trying to get into my apartment complex that says something. And how he says it, it's so confident. It's like the delivery is just like pungent, and it just punches down on it, where it's just like, I don't even know when I've ever confidently said something like that to another person in general, even on stating a fact, where it's like you feel like you're talking to me as if you're stating a fact of how, and it's just like, you look at it and it's just like, where does that confidence come from though? Like, where does that confidence come from? Like, has somebody validated this for you before? Because you're talking to me as if this works for you.
I have no idea. We'd have to ask them, but I don't feel like we would get a helpful answer.
I almost want to. Like, has this worked for you?
Report back if you do that.
I actually, like, I honestly feel like I have to, because I'm so curious at this point, because I'm so dumbfounded in the point where I'm like, looking at your mannerisms and behaviors, and like the look on your face is just so gross. But besides the fact, it's just like, there's just so much confidence behind it that it's just like, you don't say things as a human being with confidence behind it unless you believe that there might be some sort of positive outcome for you.
I don't know. It would be a great sketch to like ambush one of them if like trying this, like just if like,
I know, have like a camera set up.
Two of the other creators pounce from behind the bushes, and they're like, "Sir, you just catcalled our coworker. Can you tell us more?" I mean,
sir. That's like a camera crew coming up, like
they turn to the paparazzi.
Yeah, like a fake paparazzi. Yeah. Did you want to unpack that? Like, and honestly, these guys are so creepy. I feel like they would talk about it. Some of them I feel like would, especially if that girl's still standing there and they can still stare at her being creepy. She would just have to like take on their energy for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely an idea for the future.
Definitely such a fun idea for the future. I look forward to the future.
Just becoming a menace on the streets of LA.
I know. I really feel like there's so many like videos and things on YouTube that you can see where it's just like following women wearing different things and just like following how men perceive them or talk to them. And it's just like the ones that I saw, it was like she's in like a revealing-ish dress and like heels walking, and it's how men are talking to her and perceiving her. But then it's taking her down another street where she has a problem. She's in the same outfit where she has a problem where she needs help, and then nobody is there and actually coming to her side to help her when she actually needs assistance. Where it's like, you want to double down on her when she doesn't need anything, she's minding her business, but now when she actually needs help from society, and maybe a man too in this situation, nowhere to be found. Classic guys, classic.
I think that about does it for this week. Yeah, we'll be back next week. We have some new art coming out this week on email that you'll be able to see. Matt and I are both working on new products, sort of. We keep getting sidetracked with things that keep breaking, that we have to take our attention away from what we're in the middle of to fix them. But Matt's working on the next activity book. I'm working on some new Delve Deck products. We're doing expansion packs for those. Ooh. So yeah, lots of stuff coming later this year that'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening and watching.
Peace.